We're counting down 11 true car theft stories. Stories that prove not even luxury, rarity, or celebrity status can keep the boldest thieves away. These aren't just missing cars. These are high-stakes heists that left owners stunned. And sometimes the whole world was watching. Some rides vanished in broad daylight. Others slipped away under the nose of full security teams. And a few? They were so rare it's a mystery how anyone managed to hide them. From celebrity garages left empty, to priceless machines that vanished without a trace. The next heist takes the drama to another level, right in the heart of a major city where a jaw-dropping vehicle simply disappeared from plain sight. Alarms, cameras, nothing could stop it. Number 11. Lamborghini Gallardo. You don't expect real life to play out like an action movie. But when Guy Fieri's 2008 Lamborghini Gallardo vanished in San Francisco, the city served up a full plate of drama. Imagine this, a luxury dealership showroom stacked with million-dollar machines, and right in the middle, Guy's bright yellow Lambo, the crown jewel impossible to ignore. But here's the twist. This wasn't some quiet garage queen. For Fieri, this was Flavortown on four wheels. The car was loud, fast, and flashy, something you'd see roaring past diners, drowning out city traffic, and making heads snap at every corner. Price tag? About $200,000. But to Guy, it was priceless, a rolling piece of his brand, and apparently a target no one could resist. The heist that went down in 2011 felt less like a crime and more like a movie set. No crowbars, no chaos, just pure Mission Impossible energy. The thief? A 17-year-old named Max Wade. His plan? Straight out of Hollywood. He scaled the San Francisco dealership roof, cut a hole, and rappelled down on ropes like a stunt double. Inside, alarms stayed silent. Streets stayed quiet. Nobody saw a thing. Wade touched the floor, picked his target, and rolled Guy Fieri's yellow Lamborghini right through the giant glass doors. No chase, no panic. For a moment, it looked like the car had always been his. This is where the story took a wild turn. For more than a year, police searched everywhere. No suspects, no leads, no Lamborghini. Guy Fieri even laughed about it on late-night TV, turning his missing ride into San Francisco's running joke. But behind the punchlines, the truth was way stranger. The thief, 17-year-old Max Wade, wasn't part of some high-level crime ring. He stole the Lambo for one reason, to impress a girl. He used it like a prop, even taking her for joyrides around town. Meanwhile, the car sat tucked away in a storage unit like treasure guarded by a teenage dragon. Eventually, the law caught up. And the girl? She wasn't impressed. She testified, sealing Wade's fate, or so it seemed. When San Francisco cops finally cracked the case in 2012, Fieri's Gallardo was still in nearly untouched condition. The car came home, but the damage to Fieri's image and the weird legend around the case was already done. Wade was sentenced in 2014, not just for stealing the car, but for other violent crimes stemming from his obsession, earning him life in prison with a chance of parole. So, even with all the fame, the tech, and the color you can spot from space, sometimes being high-profile just puts a target right on your garage. And that lesson isn't limited to celebrity garages in America. Months later, half a continent away, a silver gull-wing-doored supercar parked in a private garage simply vanished. It looked untouchable until professionals made it disappear. And the vehicle later turned up far from home, kicking off an international recovery. The loop is the same. The flashier the prize, the more determined and organized the teams that come for it. Number 10. Mercedes-Benz SLS-AMG. What happens when you mix a set of iconic gull-wing doors and the daring touch of a professional thief? That's exactly what played out in Europe with a Mercedes-Benz SLS-AMG. The kind of car that physically turns heads and sounds like a thunderstorm driving by. This wasn't your average car sitting on a city street under a cheap cover. We're talking a showroom-level supercar, worth around $200,000, locked up tight in a private garage with alarm systems humming and steel doors thrown shut. Sometimes there's just something about a car with 563 horsepower and a badge that practically shouts, "Look at me," that makes it irresistible to more than just car fans. So, here's how the mystery got its start. Back in November 2012 in Cham, Switzerland, a silver SLS AMG was stolen from a private garage. The owner had ticked every box for modern car security, thinking their prized machine was untouchable. Until morning rolled around and it was simply gone. No broken windows, no sirens screeching in the middle of the night, not even a hint of missing paint on the garage door. When police started looking, even the forensic team came up empty. No fingerprints or footprints, nothing that looked out of place. If you believed the headlines, it was almost like the car just got up and flew away with those gull-wing doors. Of course, this wasn't magic. Professionals know a thing or two about electronics. Insurance investigators quickly picked up on a common theme with modern luxury car heists: relay attacks. Essentially, the thieves cloned the key fob signal from outside the garage, sometimes with the help of a spotter nearby who follows the car's owner home, watches where the key fob goes, then uses a device to bounce the signal from the house to the car and trick it into unlocking and starting. In seconds, the car is convinced its real owner is standing right there. And things only get stranger after a theft like this. This particular SLS AMG ended up far from home, discovered years later in Moscow, Russia, before being returned to its rightful owner. As soon as production ended in 2015, demand for the SLS AMG didn't go away. Instead, the car's value spiked on the black market. Organized crime rings hunting for high-value prizes moved fast. Some of these missing SLS AMGs later resurfaced on the other side of the continent, chopped and pieced together in shadowy workshops from Eastern Europe all the way to the Middle East. Now, the next car on the list disappears. This time from a quiet driveway with cameras rolling, and yet the thieves move like shadows. Let's all travel to England for the next one. Number 9. Rolls-Royce, Cullinan. What if I told you that even a fortress on wheels can vanish before sunrise? That's exactly what happened to a Rolls-Royce Cullinan in Aveley, Essex on November 20th, 2023. This isn't just any ride, it's a $340,000 palace with the kind of luxury that puts most penthouses to shame. The Cullinan isn't about blending in, the sort of SUV that makes people stop and stare, and apparently it makes thieves take notes too. So here's what played out. It's 4 in the morning, barely anyone awake, and the Cullinan is sitting on a gated driveway behind enough security tech to make a bank jealous. There are cameras, there's motion detection, and the keys are tucked safely inside the house. But the thing about modern thieves, they don't need to be clumsy. They're electronic pickpockets. That night, one slipped quietly onto the property carrying a tiny antenna. The trick is a relay attack. It doesn't smash the window or break the door, it listens. The antenna picks up the signal from the owner's key fob, even through the walls or windows. The thief intercepts it right from inside the house, and just like that, the Cullinan thinks the owner is standing right next to it, ready for a drive. The doors unlock, the lights flash, and the two-tone Rolls glides silently into the shadows, all in less than 30 seconds. No dramatic chase, no shattered glass, not even a blip on the CCTV worth noticing. It's almost like the car decided to leave on its own. Insurance companies say Cullinans aren't stolen every day, but when one gets targeted, it's usually a perfect operation, straight to a high-end garage to be stripped or loaded into a shipping container for export. Some Cullinans have already shown up in places like Russia and the UAE, sporting new paint and fake IDs. The ultra-secure Rolls-Royce tracking software? Clever, but not always a match for criminals with high-tech gear and inside knowledge. As of now, police haven't made any arrests and nobody's found this rolling palace. In the world of luxury cars, the bigger the opulence, the bigger the bullseye. But the story doesn't stop there. The next car on our list vanished from a quiet garage in Germany, a machine so rare and coveted that its disappearance made headlines across Europe. Once again, the pattern repeats. High-value, head-turning cars attract highly organized thieves, and even the best security can't always keep them safe. Number 8. Porsche 911 GT2 RS. What if I told you there's a Porsche so rare and so blisteringly fast that most car lovers will never even see one in real life? Meet the Porsche 911 GT2 RS, built from 2018 to 2020, and it's not just another fast Porsche. This machine laps the Nürburgring quicker than a Ferrari, and it almost never shows up outside of high-profile events. Only a few hundred of these have hit the streets worldwide. It's a full-blown track weapon, disguised as something you could technically drive to the grocery store. But blending in? Forget it. With a twin-turbo flat-six pushing 211 miles per hour and 0 to 60 in under 2.7 seconds, this car isn't just fast, it's basically a street-legal race car. Price tag? $293,200. But to the right buyer, it's priceless. Part of what makes the GT2 RS so legendary and so dangerous in the wrong hands is how rare it is. Only a few hundred of these cars were ever built worldwide, making them almost impossible to find outside of private collections or special events. And because supply is tiny but demand is huge, the black market price for one skyrockets. January 16, 2023. Germany. What happened that night sounds more like a magic trick than a regular car theft. A brand new GT2 RS, tucked away in the private parking basement of an apartment building, suddenly vanished. Morning came and the scene looked untouched. No broken locks, no shattered glass, not even a fingerprint left behind. The Porsche was there the night before and now it was gone, leaving nothing but an empty space. The whole thing went down without a sound or a warning. Almost nobody saw a thing. This was no smash and grab, this was professional. Here's the detail that makes it even more chilling. Whoever did it seemed to know the ins and outs of that private garage better than some residents. It started to look like an inside job, or at the very least the work of someone with real knowledge about how the place operated, which left police wondering, was this an inside job or something even bigger? The leading theory? A crew quietly rolled in with a flatbed tow truck looking like just another routine car delivery. In less than 10 minutes, the GT2 RS was loaded up and gone. Police rushed in. Porsche's security team joined the hunt. VIN numbers were scanned at ports, shipping docks, and checkpoints, a ritual whenever a rare GT2 RS vanishes. But even with all that effort, the car never resurfaced. And here's the kicker. To this day, it's still missing. Who took it and where did it go? That mystery has the car world buzzing, and it might never be solved. Now, the nickname. The ghost of Zuffenhausen follows this car around in whispers on forums and collector circles. Owners of these Porsches are now hiding secret GPS trackers in every corner of their cars, hoping not to end up as the next unsolved case. And if that's not enough, there's even a €15,000 reward hanging out there for tips leading to its recovery. The big question remains, will this ghost car ever resurface, or did it simply vanish into the underground world of rare cars forever? Collectors are still watching, waiting, and wondering. Just when you think the saga of vanished supercars has reached its peak, the next story proves otherwise. After the high-speed disappearance in Germany, another rare and legendary machine goes missing, this time from a quiet street where no one expected a thief to strike. Number 7. 1985 Ferrari 288 GTO. What if I told you one of the world's rarest Ferraris could vanish in broad daylight right under everyone's nose? That's exactly what happened to a 1985 Ferrari 288 GTO in Germany. Now, Ferrari thefts happen, but this one is on another level. Here's why. Only 272 of these beauties were ever built. The 288 GTO was designed for the mid-80s Group B racing series, but the series was canceled before these cars ever hit the track. They never had their chance to roar in competition, which sent them straight into legend status and into the sights of collectors. By 2019, the price tag wasn't just steep, it was easily north of $2 million. So grabbing one is like nabbing the Mona Lisa of Ferrari supercars. And when something this rare disappears, The world can't stop talking. The case kicked off in May 2019, right in Dusseldorf. A man, dressed to impress, walked into a classic dealer's showroom. He acted the part, polite, confident, and clearly knowledgeable about the 288 GTO. The pitch? He said he wanted a test drive. But a car this special doesn't just get handed over. The dealer, maybe fooled by his charm, agreed. They hit the road like any ordinary joyride. Then the twist. Mid-drive, the thief asked to swap seats. The dealer barely made it halfway out before being shoved to the side of the road, and just like that, the 288 GTO roared off, vanishing into Dusseldorf streets in broad daylight, gone before anyone could react. Police launched a full-scale manhunt as soon as the theft was reported. With only a couple hundred 288 GTOs in existence, this wasn't just another stolen car, it was headline news around the world. Collectors, enthusiasts, and even casual car fans wondered, was it headed for a private collection? Smuggled out of the country? Or was it already on the black market, fetching a price far beyond its $2 million value? The suspense didn't last long. Within days, officers traced the trail to Grevenbroich, about 30 kilometers away. There it sat, quietly tucked in a garage, the Ferrari untouched, fully intact, and unscathed. No scratches, no broken locks, no sign of a hurried escape. Investigators figured the pressure of the global manhunt spooked the thief, forcing the rare supercar to be abandoned before it could be moved. And just like that, the 288 GTO was back. But the story of its disappearance only added to its legendary status. What makes this story wild is the timing. This wasn't a theft that disappeared into the shadows for years. It was a bold, brazen daytime ripoff, and it was solved almost as quickly as it happened. Sometimes the rarest, most valuable cars don't vanish under cover of night. They're snatched in plain sight, leaving everyone who sees it stunned and speechless. Part of what makes the 288 GTO a target for thieves isn't just its speed or beauty, it's how rare it is. Only 272 were ever built, and each one is basically untouchable in the collector world. That scarcity makes these cars incredibly valuable, and when one disappears, it can fetch prices way beyond its already million-dollar tag. On the black market, a 288 GTO isn't just a car, it's a trophy, a status symbol, and sometimes a literal ticket into the secretive world of elite collectors. That's why every time one surfaces, the hype explodes. Owning or losing one of these machines isn't just luck, it's history in motion. The 1985 288 GTO vanished in a flash, leaving everyone stunned. But the story doesn't stop there. Soon after, another ultra-rare supercar disappears from a secure garage, and once again, no alarm, no lock, no camera can stop determined thieves. You won't believe how far people will go for the world's most coveted machines. Number 6. Bugatti Veyron Grand Sport. Imagine a car so rare, even billionaires can only dream of owning one. Now imagine it becoming the target of a real-life international chase that nobody saw coming. The Bugatti Veyron Grand Sport Sang Bleu isn't the type of vehicle you expect to see parked in the wild. It's fast, yes, but it's also painfully expensive. Worth a cool $1 million even before you talk about options. But in 2011, this rolling work of art became the centerpiece of a story even the biggest action movies would struggle to top. It all started in Oberrieden, Switzerland. A businessman believed his prized Veyron was safe behind closed doors. In May of that year, a group of thieves with nerves of steel set their sights on the Grand Sport. This wasn't a smash-and-grab job. Instead, the thieves slipped in without a trace. No mess, no chaos. They stole the $1 million Bugatti with precision so sharp it made investigators wonder if they'd practiced on smaller toys first. The real action began once the car was gone. The thieves wasted no time driving the Veyron straight across the border into Germany. It's one thing to steal a car, but it's another level of confidence entirely to pilot something this conspicuous past customs checkpoints. But if they hoped to stay low profile, that plan backfired fast. German police spotted the Swiss plates and decided this was one car they weren't letting vanish. What followed was straight out of a video game. A high-speed chase, sirens wailing, police cars redlining to keep up. The Veyron streaked ahead, its W16 engine roaring like thunder down the highway. But chases like these rarely end clean. The pursuit came to a screeching halt when the Veyron slammed into a guardrail. No more running, no more fantasy getaway. Police swarmed in, arresting two Polish men, ages 24 and 27, in Bavaria as they tried to make their way back to Poland. The stolen cars, the Veyron and a BMW 750 Li, were recovered and returned to Swiss authorities. But this story was far from over. The thieves hadn't just stolen cars, they'd triggered international chaos. In total, about 1.5 million euros worth of vehicles vanished in a single night. And when the dust settled, German authorities hit them with a staggering 522,000 euros in import duties and taxes, on top of their criminal charges. Smuggling cars across borders didn't just fail, it backfired hard. Eventually, the Veyron Grand Sport made its way home to its rightful owner. But for collectors around the world, this story became a warning. Sometimes the cars that scream for attention attract danger just as loudly. In the world of luxury and speed, beauty can turn into bait. Just when you think a stolen car story can't get any wilder, another classic machine vanishes. This time, something with muscle, with history, and a reputation that makes collectors stop in their tracks. The loop continues. Rare cars, bold thieves, and disappearances that feel stranger than fiction. The next one? It's a legend in its own right. Number 5. 1968 Chevrolet Corvette C3. Ever wonder what it's like to lose your dream car a day after buying it, only to see it reappear almost 4 decades later? That's exactly what happened to Alan Poster in his 1968 Chevrolet Corvette Stingray. Picture this: a Le Mans blue convertible parked outside a New York apartment on January 21st, 1968. You'd never expect that car's story would become one of the wildest automotive disappearances ever told. Alan had actually caught a would-be thief the night before trying to mess with his new Corvette. He thought it was over after chasing them away. He couldn't have been more wrong. The very next day, that freshly purchased Corvette pulled its own disappearing act, almost like a magic trick, gone without a single clue. Police reports were filed, but there was nothing to chase. No leads, no witnesses, just an empty parking spot and a broken dream. For decades, it stayed that way. No sightings, no tips, no answers. Most people forgot about it, but not Alan. He kept the VIN written down, checking every so often, hoping for closure. But after almost 40 years, hope felt like a long shot. Then, everything changed. December 2005. Customs agents in Long Beach, California opened a shipping container bound for Sweden. Inside sat a 1968 Corvette, but not quite the one Alan remembered. It was now gray instead of Le Mans blue. The interior, once black, was replaced with bright red leather. And under the hood, a swapped 427 engine instead of the original 327. Still, when agents checked the VIN, it matched Alan's. His stolen dream car had been found, 37 years later, frozen in place on a loading dock, seconds from disappearing overseas. No one knows what really happened during those lost decades. The thief was never caught. The later owners had no idea it had a secret past. The paperwork was clean, the changes clever, but the VIN told the truth. Alan wasted no time reclaiming it. He restored the Corvette to its original glory, stripping away the gray, repainting it in Le Mans blue, and bringing back the 327 engine. After nearly 4 decades, the mystery ended in a reunion that almost never happens. And in 2023, at 80 years old, Alan sold that same Corvette at auction for $40,000. A full circle, from heartbreak to history. But just when you think the saga of stolen legends ends here, it doesn't. Because the next iconic car vanishes too. A timeless classic, all curves and chrome. Stolen from a garage that seemed untouchable. Alarms, cameras, and careful planning couldn't stop it, and this time, the mystery only gets deeper. Number 4. 1938 Talbot Lago Teardrop Coupe. Imagine seeing one of the rarest cars ever made vanish without a single alarm, without a warning, gone like a ghost. That's exactly what happened with the 1938 Talbot Lago Teardrop Coupe, a masterpiece shaped by the hands of Fagoni and Falaschi. and celebrated as one of the most stunning pre-war car designs ever. This story reads more like a movie script than real life. The Talbot Lago slipped out of its protective bubble, stolen right under the noses of people who thought it was untouchable. If you've ever laid eyes on a teardrop coupe, you know it's not just a car, it's kinetic art on wheels. The 1938 Talbot Lago T150 CSS Teardrop Coupe was one of only two ever made, and in 2001 it vanished without a trace from a shuttered plastics factory in Milwaukee. The owner was Roy Leesky from Milwaukee. He kept the teardrop tucked away in one of his shuttered factories, a steel and concrete vault where he thought nothing could touch it. But on a cold March night in 2001, all that changed. Men dressed in white overalls cut the phone lines at the Milwaukee home of Roy Leesky. Then, without a sound, they drove to his former factory where the car was stored and dismantled the car piece by piece. Using a crane, they loaded the teardrop into a waiting truck. By morning, the car, and nearly all its paperwork dating back decades, was gone. Nothing else was touched. There was no sign of forced entry. And the parts and nearly all the paperwork, even receipts dating back to the 1960s, were all gone. Nothing else was touched. It was a heist executed with chilling perfection, leaving the car world stunned. In the world of vintage cars, this was a unicorn, built in post-war France, valued at an estimated $7.6 million and utterly irreplaceable. It wasn't just a car, it was a piece of history. For years, the teardrop was considered lost. Then in 2016, the car appeared back to life. The missing Talbot Lago teardrop had resurfaced in Illinois, now in the hands of Rick Workman, a multi-millionaire dentist who had wired $7.6 million to buy it in 2015. The seller? Christopher Gardner, who brazenly put the stolen Talbot Lago on the market with fabricated paperwork, selling it as though nothing was wrong. But when Workman tried to register the car in Illinois, it immediately tripped the NCIC database of stolen vehicles. Gardner swore he bought the car lawfully, but the FBI named him in connection to the theft. That's when the legal saga began to tangle even further, turning what looked like a high-end collector sale into a full-blown federal investigation. After Leesky's death, ownership rights passed through his estate, handing it to Joe Ford, Leesky's nephew, and Richard Mueller, Ford's close friend and business partner. Together, they fought in court for rightful ownership of the teardrop. After it resurfaced, Gardner claimed he bought the teardrop lawfully, complete with paperwork he believed to be legitimate. But investigators later discovered that much of that documentation was forged or fabricated. The FBI wanted him in connection with the theft because the chain of ownership from the 2001 heist to Gardner was never convincingly explained, and they suspected he was closer to the theft than he admitted. The fight dragged to the Wisconsin Supreme Court. In 2020, the justices ruled that Workman's possession of the stolen teardrop restarted the 6-year statute of limitations clock. That meant Ford and Mueller had fresh legal ground to demand its return. For a moment, it looked like justice was finally within reach. But fate had one more twist. In May 2024, Richard Mueller, the key witness and co-heir, suffered a fatal stroke at 77. Without Mueller's voice, prosecutors admitted they couldn't prove their case beyond a reasonable doubt, and the FBI's decision to discontinue the investigation marked a somber end to a case that had captivated the automotive world for over 2 decades. Without proof, the sale to Rick Workman stood, and Gardner avoided conviction. Today, the Talbot Lago remains one of the most haunting legends in automotive history, a car too rare to vanish, yet too cursed to fully return. Even after the Talbot Lago vanished, the string of impossible thefts wasn't over. The next story teases a car so rare, so coveted, that collectors can't stop talking about it, and thieves can't resist. The stage is set for a heist that pushes audacity and precision to a whole new level. Number 3. Ferrari F512M Testarossa. What do you do when your supercar vanishes while the whole racing world is watching? For Gerhard Berger, this nightmare was real. April 1995, San Marino Grand Prix weekend at Imola. Engines scream on track, but off track, Berger's bright red Ferrari F512M disappears from his hotel car park. A theft in plain sight. How could this happen during one of racing's biggest weekends? But this wasn't just a Ferrari, this was the F512M, the rarest final evolution of Ferrari's flat 12 supercar. Built between 1994 and 1996, fewer than 500 exist. Spotting one outside a museum or a curated collection is next to impossible. So why was one sitting unguarded? Even back then, it was priceless. But when it resurfaced years later, its value had soared to £350,000, over $440,000. The real question, who had it all that time? Picture this. Berger steps outside, probably thinking about his race the next day, only to see his Ferrari pulling away. His Ferrari isn't parked, it's moving. Someone's driving it away, and he doesn't freeze. He ran after it, trying to chase down his own supercar. But what do you do when the thief has 12 cylinders and you're on foot? Berger then dives into a friend's Volkswagen Golf. A hatchback versus a Ferrari. The chase is on. But deep down he knows, this is no contest. Watching your priceless machine disappear, powerless to stop it, that's a sting no driver forgets. But here's the kicker. The Ferrari wouldn't stay gone forever. Years later, it came back, with a story even wilder than its theft. The night only got stranger. Just when you think one Ferrari vanishing is wild enough, boom! Gina Lisi, Berger's teammate, loses his Ferrari F355. Same weekend, same hotel lot. You'd expect extra eyes on the rides of Formula One stars, right? Guards, alarms, attention everywhere. But no, these thieves didn't panic, didn't smash and grab, they moved like ghosts. By morning, both Ferraris were gone. No alarms, no tire screeches, no trace, just silence. And 2 empty parking spaces. But here's the part no one saw coming. What really happened to those cars would stay hidden for decades. Fast forward to late 2023. Out of nowhere, Ferrari spots a familiar VIN during a routine check as a UK broker prepares to sell the car to a US buyer. Police step in. The car by then had done a world tour, shipped off to Japan not long after the theft, then bouncing around back to the UK. Once Ferrari alerted the authorities, the Metropolitan Police's organized vehicle crime unit swooped in and seized the car in less than a week before it could leave the country again. It took 29 years for this story to come full circle, but only 4 days from the time Ferrari picked up the scent to when the F512M was back in safe hands. Now here's the strange part, the F512M wasn't even Berger's to keep. Since it was a loaner, no one's entirely sure if the car will go back to its original owners, insurers, or end up staying with Ferrari. And despite all the drama, not a single arrest has been reported so far. Almost as if the people who took these cars melted back into the shadows. Meanwhile, Gina Lisi's F355 is still at large, no closer to home now than it was in 1995. If Berger's F512M came back after decades, you have to wonder how many lost supercars are still waiting for a headline moment. Number 2. 1938 Alfa Romeo 8C2900B Lungo Spider. Stolen July 25, 2022 from a Holiday Inn Express parking lot in Latta, South Carolina. The item was transported in a closed trailer and was later recovered by the FBI in a South Carolina warehouse about 18 months afterward. That's not just a headline, it's one of the boldest classic car thefts in recent memory. This Alfa Romeo isn't just rare, it's one of only 5 long chassis touring spiders left in the world. Built for the golden age of European racing, the 8C2900B Lungo Spider is the kind of car that draws crowds at Pebble Beach and has collectors whispering its name. The 2.9-liter straight-8 engine, the racing pedigree, and the sweeping lines all add up to a car worth more than most collections combined. This Spider was being hauled in a closed 2009 Hallmark trailer behind a white Ford F350 pickup, headed for restoration work after a long life of making collectors jealous. The stop for the night, parking outside a Holiday Inn Express in Latta, South Carolina. You can almost picture the trailer parked under a buzzing lamppost, probably not even drawing a second glance from late-night travelers. Then, before sunrise on July 25, 2022, the trailer, the truck, and one of the rarest classic cars in the world were just gone. No broken glass, no dramatic chase, just another anonymous exit from a hotel parking lot off the interstate. The theft itself was almost unremarkable. No alarms, no chase, just a routine exit from a hotel parking lot. The general theory is that the thieves were targeting hotel lots for whatever might be inside the trailers, maybe looking for motorcycles, maybe construction gear, but probably not expecting to pull off the most audacious classic car heist of the century. Suddenly, someone was in possession of a pre-war Alfa Romeo worth more than entire car collections. The moment the theft was discovered, the search went nationwide. Law enforcement and the FBI joined in, and a $50,000 reward was posted for any information. But for weeks, the trail was ice cold. With a car this unique, it's almost impossible to sell or show off. Still, the Alfa seemed to disappear into thin air. What made this case stand out was the payoff at the end. After months of investigation, the FBI tracked the Alfa Romeo to a warehouse in South Carolina, where it was found alongside other stolen vehicles. The car had only minor cosmetic damage, a small miracle considering its rarity and value. World-renowned restorer Mike Regalia took on the job of bringing it back to its former glory, ensuring the Spider's legacy would continue. The insurance company, having paid out for the loss, became the legal owner. In August 2024, the 8C2900B Lungo Spider took its place on the auction block at Gooding & Company Pebble Beach, making its public debut and cementing its story as one of the most dramatic recoveries in classic car history. Even the rarest, most valuable cars can vanish in an instant, sometimes reappearing with a new chapter in their legend. But there's another car out there whose disappearance is still unsolved, and its story is the stuff of movie scripts. Number 1. 1964 Aston Martin DB5. What if I told you the world's most famous spy car could disappear without a single trace, almost as if it learned a trick or two from 007 himself? That's exactly what happened to James Bond's 1964 Aston Martin DB5. Not a replica. The actual car that lit up Goldfinger with machine guns, ejector seat, and those trick license plates. This wasn't just a collector's piece, it was the crown jewel of movie cars. Valued at around $4 million, it was untouchable. Until it wasn't. One night it slipped away without a trace. No alarms, no getaway chase, just silence. And here's the kicker. Decades later, the DB5 is still missing. So where did Bond's greatest gadget go? And who has the keys to cinema's most legendary car? It all went down in 1997 at the Boca Raton Airport in Florida. James Bond's Aston Martin DB5 sat inside a private hangar, guarded by alarms and locked doors. Safe, or so it seemed. But someone out there had a different script. They slipped past the systems, cut through the alarms, and moved the car without smashing glass or making a sound. No chaos, no noise, just silence. Then came the getaway. The DB5 was rolled onto a waiting flatbed and driven into the night with surgical precision. It was less like a messy car theft and more like a Bond operation, just without the explosions. By the time the owner checked in, the car was gone. All that remained was an empty hangar floor, and a mystery that still hasn't been solved. The investigation went global. FBI agents, Scotland Yard, and even MI6 all tried chasing the trail, but the trail went nowhere, not even past the airport gates. No fingerprints, no witnesses, no forced entry, just a hangar that looked like it had been emptied by magic. And because this wasn't just any Aston Martin, the story exploded across headlines worldwide. Speculation went wild. Some swore a secretive billionaire stashed it in a hidden garage, never to be seen again. Others believed the DB5 was stripped into priceless parts, sold off piece by piece, because showing it in public would be impossible. But here's the haunting question. Is Bond's most famous car sitting intact in the shadows? Or gone forever, dismantled into legends? As the years rolled on, the story only grew stranger. New leads surfaced. Reporters chased rumors, but every trail ended in smoke. Then in 2021, whispers claimed the DB5 had surfaced somewhere in the Middle East, but no proof followed, nothing. And that's where the legend lives, suspended between fact and fantasy. For all its spy gadgets and silver screen fame, this Aston Martin became something else entirely. The automotive world's lost masterpiece. A machine too valuable to destroy, too famous to reveal. If any car has ever earned the name Ghost, it's this one. And the question still lingers, will James Bond's most famous ride ever step back into the light? Luxury features and sky-high values make these cars magnets for organized theft. Every added gadget or badge just adds to the risk. Even advanced security can't stop relay attacks and export schemes. So owners need to stay sharp and know the vulnerabilities. When you look back at these stories, it's clear. The more exclusive the car, the more creative the thieves. Some classics come back decades later, while others disappear for good. Which theft surprised you most? The recovered classics or the vanished supercars? If you like this one, subscribe for more wild stories from the world of exotic cars. And tell us below which theft you want fully unpacked next.